Good morning. Welcome to Tribal Jazzman Scholar. You probably noticed I sit in my car and I do these in the morning. Well, it's morning. I do them in the morning. On my way to work, I have a place I park. I meditate. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's the San Fernando Valley, and this is an overlook on my way. And I park here and I take a little time to reflect, and then I make a short video. And I was thinking this morning, what do I want to talk about? I usually have a plan, but I don't have one, or didn't have one, and I have one now. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about God. What does that mean to me? What does that mean in my life? Words are so weighted. When I talk to my fifth graders about math, I decided I wanted to change the word, because math is what at least a third of them have grown to despise. So the word becomes loaded, triggering. And it's very hard to talk about numbers and relationships and values and the beautiful, intricate completeness of mathematics if you say the word math and they shut down. So God's kind of like that. The word's big and heavy and weighted. And I'm not sure I like the word, but I live with a belief in a vibrant, mysterious, sacred essence permeating everything, living, non-living, in our traditional biological sense of the definition of living. And it's expressing itself in the beauty of a form, like a tree, in the ideas of a form, like a Homo sapien, in the artistic expressions of the very same Homo sapien, in the achievements of the collective, in a deep kind of value that's held within human beings that seems to transcend the kind of differences that are so obvious culturally. I think it was Mildred Norman who first brought to my attention the idea that the golden rule, the biblical golden rule, thou do unto others as you would have others do unto you, that was expressed in almost every great spiritual tradition, that same idea that we know how we want to be treated, and then we just treat others that way. And I'm not saying that's the doctrine I want to espouse. I'm intrigued by the fact that we all seem to share that. As a person who's taught children, and I've taught first grade, so I kind of can go to that younger grade where the innocence is very, very, very evident. And the innocence is bound in a great beauty, a great wonder, a great desire to do good and be good, irrespective of all the habits that interfere with that child. So I have this sense that human beings are really good. Now, our institutions are expressions of a lot of our collusive madness, and they're not good. And they need to be changed, and they change, and they are changing. But back to the three-letter word, God. I guess one of the thoughts I want to respond to is the idea, well, if there was a God, why would the world have so much misery and horror and suffering? And I'm kind of back to that idea that value and awareness, self-awareness, comes through darkness. My own ability to have a sense of what's right and wrong, not to know it intellectually, but to feel it viscerally, has come through my own struggles with darkness. So it's as if the world is emerging through darkness of some of the most vivid and horrific kinds. I just don't want to minimize the suffering, and I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've traveled a lot, and I've worked with people that are suffering. The tangibleness of war and slavery and oppression and injustice are not to be taken lightly, not to be seen in any kind of Pollyannish light of, well, it's part of the process of becoming good, because we can't make too many broad assumptions. But the one that I want to say for me is that in the struggle to recover my sanity, my goodness, my essence, something that felt somewhat robbed from me in my upbringing, in present world, with all of its structures and confusions, and madness, that to recover a sense of dignity, purpose, destiny, connectedness, belief in ancestors, belief in earth, belief in vibrant life, belief in God. The recovery of that for me is a process of going through dark and into a kind of light that I will hold on to tenaciously. I will fight for tooth and nail. I will relish, cherish, and honor without taking for granted. So the story of Siddhartha, having every luxury bestowed upon him as a child in the effort to protect him, his father protecting this prince from the pains of the world, left him well cared for and wildly ignorant and unsure of anything. So it was his encounters with the real world that allowed him to awaken. And I think we're all kind of on that walk. And the world has collective expressions of it in our institutions, in the most ill-conceived ones. So I'd say one last thing, it's this, and I do try to also peel back the layers of my cultural biases and to try to regain something of what I believe is an ancestral knowingness in my bones about who we are, where we've come from, what we are about, what matters. And I try to look at the world and the godness in the world, the goddessness in the world, and I try to see it with fresh eyes whenever I can. And it's hard to do, and it's just a challenge I try to undertake regularly. But I begin to feel the earth bursting forth new life from seed, growing up and out as a womb, as a mother. And when I speak to the earth as a goddess, as a mother, as a lover, strange mix of terms. Freud would have a field day excavating my inner thoughts. But I have this relationship to mother that's sacred and profound and erotic, and it's like it's a love that's it's a love visceral in every way. Not always, but when I feel it, it's deep and it's provocative. I feel the earth as that feminine energy, and I feel connected to it in my own femininity. And then there's this sky, which is sort of overlooking everything and shining this light down, and somewhat out of reach, and yet with a wisdom and a guidance and a power of life that comes in the rain and the sun and the light and the cycles. And that feels masculine to me. That feels like a father, a little bit unknowable, a little bit aloof, but present and guardian and powerful. And these two are in this symbiotic dance, this earth and sky. And I'm trying to regain that for myself, partly because it feels natural, but then again, it's in the cosmologies of just about every indigenous people, every native people, every ancestor of mine before the advent of farming had probably a belief in an earth god, goddess, a feminine energy of soil and moist and abundant life and power of life, and then this kind of ethereal, aloof sky god. At least that's how I read it. And it's an interesting kind of dance for me to stand in between these and try to recover some of those ancestral ways as I form my own cosmology in present world. And with that, Tribal Jazzman Scholar will sign off. Thanks for joining me on this ponderous journey on this morning. Thank you.